Welcome to Deep Dive. I'm Kevin Benedict, your host. I want to thank everyone out there for joining us today. I'm thrilled to be here in the southern tip of Manhattan today in the financial district with my guest, who is Zlatko Vucetic. Zlatko, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Kevin.
Absolutely. Pleasure. Zlatko is the CEO of a really interesting company called FocusVision.
Thank you for having me on the show, Kevin. It's a pleasure to be here today. So just a little bit about myself. So my name is Zlatko Vucetic. I'm not a typical US CEO. I was actually I was born in what people refer to former Yugoslavia when I left it, and I was raised in Copenhagen, Denmark. I'm educated in finance. My background is in financial technology, and I work with several software companies prior to joining FocusVision. So people always ask me, how do you end up coming from the happiest country in the world, which is Denmark, to a company that you haven't heard at the time, that was located in the city that nobody knew in Denmark, which was Stamford, Connecticut. And for me, it was about the opportunity, and not your typical, as we say here in US, garden variety type of opportunity, but transformational journey. We were going through, the FocusVision was at the stronghold of a very, very unique industry, where when you looked at all the companies out there, you will see that data was the new oil, customer experience was the new black. You had the rise of the CXO, or Chief Experience Officer. You couldn't go to any meeting or any presentation from any enterprises where they didn't have improving customer experience as the number one strategic imperative on their presentation. Netflix and Amazon kind of became the goalpost for any other company within any other industry. And for me, this is where we help our clients. We help our clients achieve that unique perspective. We help them work with their data, and we help them collect the data, work with data, and improve the processes around the customer journey. We did quite a few things over the last couple of years. I brought in a completely new management team in terms of changing the strategy. We have enabled different relationship with our clients as well, and moved more towards a subscription model based on the transactional model that we had. And we've also integrated the 5 acquisitions that were made over the last 4 years. So right now, FocusVision is a very unique player within the customer experience space, because we offer the experience data tools and the survey tools, which nobody else does in the market.
So I read a lot, Zlatko, on your website about integrated research solutions is what you're offering. Talk to me about what you mean by that.
So what we mean by that is that if you look at if we take a point of departure of FocusVision, where we started, we were the first. We have been in the market for the last 3 decades, so we're not a company that we're not a startup, and we were just one of the best kept secrets within the customer experience space. We were the first one to live stream a focus group. So if you have been ever in a focus group and there's a camera that's been recording the focus group, there's 85% chance that we've been behind that technology.
Okay.
So, and we've been a leader within that space. So what's happened in the market was that we saw a shift happening towards more of the quantitative studies, and thereby decided to acquire different companies that help us create that holistic pictures for our clients. So when we speak about integrated research solutions, what we mean is that we provide our clients ability to understand the big data trends, but also the small data trends, which are the qualitative trends. There's a increased consumption of video in our daily lives. I was reading that if you're doing a product review, first thing you do is you go to YouTube and look for a product review instead of reading it. Because people would just love to spend 10 minutes looking at something instead of just reading it instead. And we believe that that holistic angle of providing the qualitative video data and together with the quantitative data that we provide through our survey tools gives a very, very holistic picture of the client journey, but also the issues and the experiences that the clients are facing.
So what does that look like? I read on your website you talk about things like webcam. You use the phrase a lot, customer truth.
Yes.
So first of all, tell me about customer truth, and then talk to me about how video and webcams and all that fits into it.
I think that to explain it very, very simply is that when you look at the quantitative studies, is that in terms of and we have seen that big data trend now for the last 8-9 years, is that it gives you only half of the answer. It provides you only an answer towards how, and how does 60% of people feel about a certain shoe or TV or any other product or commodity out there. What we provide as we label it customer truth is the qualitative angle of the experience that the client that the customers might have towards a certain product. So not only nobody makes a decision. It's like I use this case often, is that nobody makes a decision because 80% of the people think the shoe is comfortable.
Yes.
You make that decision based on either your own experience, or your experience towards the brand, your experience toward the purchasing process, and your experience towards the product. And that cannot only be answered by the big data or the survey data or the quantitative data you receive. You need to have that holistic data in terms of how the client is actually experienced the product or the brand before you can make a full picture and understanding.
So instead of just having a checkbox survey,
yes,
you're looking at how can we have a conversation type survey?
Correct.
Like, what do you mean when you say this? When you said it was a good experience, what did what happened that made it good for you? Is that what you're meaning?
Yeah, and we have this. We had this amazing case, because I always use that one because everybody. It's very related to everybody, because people, especially people with kids and families, know this case very well. It's one of the discussions that we have with one of our clients that had issues with product packaging. They basically had to make a decision because they couldn't understand why they saw a large drop off of a purchase of a diapers when people were moving up in the diaper size. You could ask people how satisfied they were. You will get a certain answer to a quantitative study, but they couldn't understand why customers were shifting to the competitors when you had to switch from size 1, 2, and 3.
Yes.
So what they did is they did a multi-country study when they asked people to use one of our digital tools to basically record and write about their experience in terms of changing the diapers. And they basically realized through those video recordings and how people actually use the product, what was wrong with the product, they were able to modify the product and get the sales back on track.
Interesting.
You wouldn't be able to get that kind of insights from a simple survey.
Having had 2 children myself, I know they wiggle more the older they get.
Well, I wish I knew that case when my kids were small, because according to my wife, it was always my fault, not the brand's fault. But that's
you're trying to get the tape in the right spot as they're twisting.
Yeah, and now they have the indicators as well. They didn't have those things when my kids were small. So it's a very unique offering that we provide, because we have that ability to bring in the qualitative data either from focus groups, online interviews, or even the digital experience tools where people are able to use social media like tool that we offer for recording and tracking their behavior and their experiences with the product or a brand.
I also read on your website, it said the purpose of your solutions is to authentically understand, engage, and connect with customers. What do you mean by that?
I think what we mean by that, is that we want to make sure that we provide that full spectrum of understanding of a customer journey. And people always ask me about the trend of the big data and the quantitative studies, and I always bring this example of if we go 10 years ago, the first thing that was really enabled through the big data was these lead prioritization scores that you had through marketing automation systems. And they will provide you a score. You will look at the typical client and you will say, is this somebody I should contact or not, I have a relationship with or not. And then you will have one of the sales people in the room sitting and saying, raising their hand and saying, your score is not correct because I spoke yesterday to this particular client and this is what he actually feels, and this is why that score that you've allocated is not correct. And what happens in those conversations? That person in that room is right. It doesn't really matter what your numbers are showing, as long as you have one person bringing a client into the meeting room, it actually changes completely the picture in terms of how people perceive the value of the quantitative
But it doesn't
data.
mean it's necessarily the truth.
It doesn't mean the truth, but what we're doing is we are actually helping our clients that are looking at large quantitative studies and big data manage also the qualitative or the experience tools and bringing that customer truth and integrating those data touch points. So not only are you able to validate your quantitative studies, but you're able also to bring additional nuance in terms of what does that really mean for your brand or your product. So basically you're taking the complaining client that's sitting in the middle of the room in front of a boardroom or in front of any management team, and you're able to tell that story. And once again, I think when the storytelling angle is extremely important, because the way that we think about it in the experience economy in terms of how do we relate to the products, we relate to the products and the services based on a story. The numbers get us only to a certain way, but very few of us buy a certain product or look at a certain experience, either positive or negative, based on a score.
Yes.
It's storytelling just helps us get a little bit more. So I think really what the meaning behind our efforts of that product integration is really driving that small nuance that is hiding behind the numbers into the full customer conversation.
So, having read through some articles and your website and things like that, you bring up the concept of customer truth a lot.
Yeah.
I'm assuming the reason why is because you believe that's a hard thing for companies to actually get to.
Yes, it is, and I think it has something to do with the way that we look at the processes in any company. We're still very much siloed. Is that if you're either trying to solve a business problem or you're trying to address something specifically related to a certain part of your business. And I think sometimes, and the reason why the customer experience has been the overarching strategy for a lot of the company was really how do you actually break those silos. Now, our customer truth and our ability to move into that specific category of the market is really bringing all the nuances together. It's really bringing the not only the big data trends that we've been seeing, which have been managed to remove the client journey, but also bringing the small data, the data that you actually can answer in through the numbers, but really need to understand in terms of why. Why do you feel like that? Why did you have an issue with this particular process? Why didn't you like flying with our airline? Besides the score that you gave us. And I think those kind of nuances do help break some of the silos internally, and also help address the business nature of the business issues that the company is facing.
So, Zlatko, do you then turn these conversations into data?
So this is what. So today we are servicing 75% of the largest Fortune 500 companies. So Fortune 500. We are servicing 8 out of the 10 of the largest technology companies, 9 out of the 10 of the biggest CPG companies in the world. But we also service large market research agencies. And in the past, this is the shift that's been happening in the market, which is very, very unique. As you know, Kevin, technology changes a lot of things. And I hate speaking about disruption because disruption takes time. People forget that Netflix has been around for 21 years and Uber has been around for 9 years. So regardless what you're changing, it does take time. But what we've seen in our industry happening is that data internalization, due to the fact that everybody's becoming data driven, we're seeing the movement away from the market research agencies into the enterprise itself. So the enterprises are actually internalizing the usage of these tools. And that means that they're actually looking for the answers themselves. In the good old days, the way it worked is you will go to one of the large market research agencies, you will tell them, I have a business problem. I don't care if you use experience tools or survey tools. I just need an answer. Today, it's much more holistic because it's more of a repetitive loop in terms of how do you collect the data, how do you absorb the data, and work with the data. And that's why we're seeing the shift in terms of removing the silos between the survey data and the experience data, because the enterprise clients do not perceive the two different aspects of big and small data as being differentiated, but something that needs to be combined.
So that's an interesting observation. There's a lot of these services that were provided by big agencies are being built in and automated into the platforms, aren't they? into MarTech, into AdTech, and all
Yes.
these different kinds of environments. And as such, they're looking for more automation overall.
Yes.
So let me also ask this question here. Which group in the company gets the most value from the services of FocusVision? Is it R&D?
Yeah.
Is it customer support? Is it just sales and marketing? Or where do you see that?
I think if we look 5 years ago, we were primarily speaking to head of insights in any organization, so head of research and head of insights, because they were the ones sitting with the budget and absorbing.
Yep.
But since the economy has moved more towards CMO being more data driven, I
Yes.
don't think you can be CMO in any country in
No,
this
no,
world
no.
and say that I'm not making my I'm making my
Yep.
decisions based on my gut feeling and not on data. Probably you will not be in your job for more than a day after you made that comment. So we see more CMOs and CPOs being part of that conversation. So right now, if we take some of our largest retailers or technology companies, we actually have the CMO and CPO being a part of that discussion, because they're also
Interesting.
removing the silos. And I think from the value standpoint is that we are fully integrated and can be integrated with any MarTech. So having ability to loop in the data that we provide on the data collection and data analytics, and able to customize your campaigns, it's really what makes us unique. As I mentioned in my introduction, everybody wants to be the next Amazon or next Netflix. Those are the goalposts
Yes.
of any business these days. They don't even do it right. I mean, it's our clients, so we help
Yeah.
them with understanding a lot of things that work quite a lot of them. But I think what we're trying to say is that we can help the clients become more data driven, understand their clients better, faster, and be able to create very, very specific content based on the experience that they have with.
So is FocusVision offering technology or services or a combination?
So we are offering technology. We are primarily a technology company. We do have a services component, and it's a specific services component on the programming side of the survey. So if you take some of the largest clients, they will have certain studies that are either too complex or they don't have the capability internally to run on these studies. They will come back to us, but that's not a major part of our business. Major part of our business and growth forward is really on the software side, but also on the analytical component that we've spent the last 2 years developing, and now we're infusing that with artificial intelligence that can really help our clients, as you mentioned it yourself, not only automate the entire process, but also digest the data and provide them answers faster. And I think this is one of the biggest reasons why when you look at the customer experience market, and it's been very much driven by the surveys for only one strange reason, because you had the large SAP acquisition of Qualtrics, and you had the SurveyMonkey IPO, and they're primarily in the survey space.
Yes.
So that's been a very much survey. If you look at the qualitative side, I actually think that one has much more potential. The reason for that is because right now we're having a video that recording. It's probably going to last for an hour, but if anybody wants to only just look for the 2 minutes or 3 minutes highlight moments from this video, they will have to go and edit and clip.
Yeah.
So what we have done is we've developed a proprietary technology that's able to digest the videos and find the key highlight moment in any videos.
Interesting.
And this is something we're testing out with our clients now. It's going to be fully launched here in the second quarter of the year, and we have very, very high expectations, because this is a complete game changer. It's not even related to customer experience, but the way that we'll be able to pull the key highlight moments from any video is going to be very, very unique for our clients, which means that it's going to lead them to absorb even more experience data.
Interesting. And congratulations on that.
Thank you.
I'm excited to see how it works.
We're extremely excited.
Because right now we look for the key findings from our interviews.
Yes.
And we post the links to where in the video you can get the key findings. But that's a manual process.
I know.
So if you can solve that, that would be beautiful.
But we always have this discussion, and every time I have an interview with anybody from your industry, always the question I get asked is, should we look at the quantitative movements or the qualitative movements? I said quantitative, because they're a little bit more scalable now in terms of the usability.
Yes.
It's easy for me and you to set up a survey, even a very, very complex conjoined studies, because the technology has enabled that.
Yes.
But if you think about it, the way that we consume the data, we consume most of it through video.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nobody's reading any more than 30 pages of report. If there's a video for 3 pages of the key highlight moments from, I mean, that goes for sports and everything else.
So
right?
the Oscars were this week.
Yeah.
I watched the 2-minute highlights after the fact.
Yeah.
I didn't watch the 4 hours during the fact.
No, I had to watch it. My daughters forced me because they want to look at dresses. So, it was running on the TV. But I understand what you mean, and I think that's the same thing we've seen even from sports. I'm a huge basketball fan.
Yeah.
I mean, if we wanted to discuss basketball for the rest of the interview, you could probably do that. But I only look at the highlights as well the next day, and that's the first thing I do before I wake up. I go to the NBA TV, and they have 2.5 minutes of each game, and I go through all of them.
Yes.
And then I'm updated in terms of what happened. So if you think about it, if you have 10,000 hours of a video where your clients are having a certain information or experience or opinion about your brand or a product, how do you make it easier for the brand and the enterprise to digest this data? You have to create a product that's able to provide them answers quickly, because currently you will have to manually edit or ask somebody else to do it on your behalf. So that's for me, that's been the core part of my strategy here. With me being CEO is how do you change the value-added proposition so we provide faster answers rather than providing people an understanding why they need to have the experience tools as a part of their full customer experience tool set.
So I've been a CEO, you're a CEO today, and what we realize very quickly in a leadership position is not just data, is what do you do with the data?
Yeah.
And then what actual steps do you need to implement in order to respond correctly to the meaning in the data?
Yeah.
So what do you offer that doesn't just say, here's the data?
Yeah.
Do you offer something that's going to help the executive really hone in on what actions they should take?
So we do that. So we have the full analytical component both on our quantitative tools, on the dashboarding capabilities that we have within our product that provides a certain actionability. The problem with data is that people always say, including me and you, is that we want actionable data. And that's one of the reasons why we have seen some of these big data trends take years and years and years, because everybody has data coming out of their ears, but they don't really know what to do with that in terms of integrating the data in their process. What we're doing now is we're providing very, very specific data sets from our survey tools that our clients can use. They can create the deductions and the analytical component and understanding and interpret the data, but we do provide them those capabilities in our survey tool, and we actually do have the analytical component for all our video data collection tools and our experience tools as well, called FocusVision Video Insights, where our clients are able to pull all the videos that are collected through the tools that we offer, either in-person focus groups or online focus groups or digital qualitative solutions, and be able to distill that information. So what they do with that later on is that we have clients that take our data and fully integrate it with some of their other systems. So with Salesforce, with Marketo, with marketing tools, with even with some of the e-commerce tools as well. So that's how our data sets are fully integrated with most of the technologies out there. And this is one of the unique thing, and I'm not going to tell you their name, but one of the largest retailers in the world, what they do is they run large studies every single day when you purchase something, regardless if it's a physical or online, and they actually send you, using our tools, send you different surveys based on your previous experience. So let's say if me and you, we walk down the street and we buy a pack of eggs.
Yes.
So we'll probably get a different surveys asking us different questions because we reacted differently already, and we'll also be asked our experience with the product itself. The type of the questioning that we're going to get is going to be very much different based on our previous experience, which means that the next campaign that's going to be launched towards me and you individually is going to be very much differentiated. So here we are actually solving a business problem, is that how do the two customers actually interact with the product, interact with the service, and interact with the entire experience, and what do we need to personalize in order for them to have a much more meaningful relationship with us down the line.
You know, you shared what's coming down from your own products that's coming out in Q2. if you were to put on your futurist hat and look out there 3 to 5 years, what do you think is going to continue to evolve in the customer experience analytics and customer experience surveying, all these kinds of things? How do you see that market evolving?
I think that that's going to be a key. If it's not a key strategic imperative for every company today, it is going to continue being that. I think from a product standpoint, I think people will look for more automation, and they're going to look. There's going to be a change, so you will have more of how do DIY movement continuing happening, which we're already seeing, but that's going to really accelerate because the products are going to become much more easier to use, regardless how complex study or understanding or question you need to answer. I do think when we move down the road 5-10 years from now, we're going to have more discussion on data privacy, which we already had.
Yes.
For us, it's been highly beneficial. We've been in this particular space for 3 decades, as I mentioned, so we've been prepared for that. And it's we believe actually it's the right thing to do. So you will see a lot more solutions built around the data privacy models. We looked at augmented reality and virtual reality as well last year in this particular space. I think it's a little bit too further. It will be a little bit further along, but you could say that if you can utilize virtual reality, you can probably also remove all the privacy because we can all have avatars sitting in the focus groups instead of me and you being there.
Yes, got it.
So I think there's going to be a lot more automation, but there's also going to be much better collaboration within the industry. I should be able to plug in any other system out there and get the data and get that feedback from the clients. I also think with a lot of the analytical components that we're building, we're not thinking about them only being related to FocusVision products, but really being something to everyone. And we have this great example of we went with one of our clients and we actually showed them the first version of our Highlight Reel product.
Yes.
And what we did is we took 3 videos from YouTube about a blogger speaking about their particular product. And we chose 3 of them because they have quite a lot of brands. And the individuals that were sitting in the meeting room said, well, this is really interesting, this is amazing, but this is a blogger on YouTube. Why is that relevant for me?
Yes.
It became relevant because I actually showed them that those 3 videos have been seen by 29 million people.
Oh, wow.
So what I'm trying to say is here's what we're really working on here is we want to make sure that everything that in terms of the data that's coming out of towards the enterprises, we want to make sure that it becomes easy for them to ingest, digest, but also get the answers very, very quickly. And I think this is where we are moving as an industry. So if we sit here once again, me and you, 5 years from now, and you ask me what are how many of your predictions have been realized, I think more data security and figuring out how we can actually protect the client data, because we believe that's the key of relationship that the clients have with the brands, and better and more automated actionability towards data. If we can have those 2 things 5 years from now, I think the industry and the service that we provide and the products that we provide to the enterprise clients are going to have much more meaningful impact than they have today.
Zlatko, thank you for sharing your expertise, and I want to thank all of you guys for joining in and learning with us.
Thank you. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you for having me on the show.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.